Neil voted no. But what from I gathered round the doorsteps, there was very low registration. One, that's to do with people scared about debt collection, the council tax. There's also a lot of barriers to voting, a lot of young people who are frightened of authority, going to the polling stations. For those that are marginalised in the outside the community, that's quite a difficult thing to do. Right, so we have to look at that. Also, I know I don't want to criticise the Yes Movement because it was a great campaign, but part of me thought too much of our time was standing outside the BBC and all the polling districts. The information's there, where the turnout was around 50-60%, and sent specifically from the word go, get out there and hammer the doors in areas night after night after night, and stop. The big one-off mass canvases are good, but it needs to be a properly planned, systematical to canvass of these low turnout areas, because that's where there's a big, huge yes for it.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I should say that, you know, earlier Robin was asking for anyone with expertise in the room to kind of come forward to help with what follows, and that could be, you know, he was talking about the highfalutin stuff, the IT skills, the kind of advocacy skills, all that kind of thing. Could I just say that our marvellous professor, Craig, is volunteered to be the person that at the end will gather the names. If you are one of those folk, could you go and speak to Craig the Boffin? But actually, you, sir, from the Gorbals, you are an expert too, so you go at the end and give your name to Craig the Boffin. And I appreciate as well that there are parts of the movement, like Yes Too, that have been emphasising this kind of work, you know, that have been out on the ground. Now, I'm just going to take, there's 3 more people with their hands up, then we're going to move on to another question. Would you put your hands back up and dinny cheek, because I've lost you? Do you want to speak? Yeah, there was a lady here, there, and Bob. Yeah, you want to speak first? Wait a second.
In 78, 79, politics department, Strathclyde University student, the stuff that Dr. Sorry, I've forgotten your name again. I'll remember. Dr. DL mentioned.
We'll just call him Craig. It's
okay, Craig. Broadly, the psephology of that time was much the same. It doesn't seem to have changed over 30 years. My beloved party has ignored it for the same time. We know what party that is. We've been in it for 30 years nearly. Because it was going for those who don't, you know, in normal elections, they don't vote, we're not going to, you know, we're not going to speak to them. And that basically is what the SNP did for 2 decades. And for the first year of the referendum campaign, the same Blairite calibrators within the party did exactly the same thing, and we flatlined. And I think what Joe Rock said earlier on hits it in the nail with the young folk and Rick. They understood that. They understood that the psephology has no changed for 30 years, and you've just showed the same. Is that true, that it doesn't seem to have changed much? Is that the case? It's a question to Craig, if I may ask him.
While he's looking for just put a bit behind your lug there for a second, Craig. We're going to get 2 more points, then move on after we've had your response. Yes.
Just on a general point, it did seem to me during the referendum campaign why people didn't come out. We were out campaigning the whole time, right the way through the period. It built right up until, I would say, about the weekend, 10 days beforehand. And at that time, there was tremendous enthusiasm. There was then that week, appalling week, which then ended with the Gordon Brown intervention. And I think you could feel it. You could feel it draining away. It was dreadful. You couldn't do anything about it.
Is the suggestion to just remove Gordon Brown from the planet, or what? You know. Sorry.
I think I wouldn't suggest you remove anyone, but I mean, basically, I think that what happened was that week of constant avalanche of non-information drained the whole thing away.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. And have we got someone for the lady that's at the front somewhere? Put your hand back up. Yes, in the middle there. Stay with us, folks. And use it like a rock star at your face now. Come on, just
I'm just trying to upset the whole place now. I think an awful lot of the people that didn't, I come from Dumfries, which is not only a deprived area now, it's also the last Tory area. And I think the problem we had when we were out canvassing was they're getting their money for nothing anyway, so why bother? They're not working, so why bother voting? And that's how I felt. And I was out every day.
Can you spell that out a wee bit more? Who's getting their money for nothing? Folks on benefit, MSPs?
Yeah, sorry, the people on benefit. And in Dumfries, that's a lot of people because there's no work. We're a deprived area. And we get no help.
Were you hearing that when you were actually going out canvassing?
Of course.
Right.
And
okay.
That's why they were all for yes, they were all for independence, but why bother voting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
right.
Anyway.
Thank you for that. It's all right, you're allowed to throw googlies because look, everybody's listening now. Right, I'm going to move on though, and you can come back if we've got time. That other question then, anybody got ideas about why SNP support for independence is down? Down to 75%. Richard at the back there. Somebody run. That'll be Bob. run. Okay, anybody else got views on this? Right. Okay.
Hi, Leslie, and it's Tony.
Sorry.
It's okay. The SNP kind of vote against independence, I think, is actually potentially linked to the whole subject of Europe. We've got to accept that there are a whole load of people across the political spectrum that, for whatever reason or other, just don't want to be part of the EU. Those of us that are find that hard to actually work out, but it's every political party. So since we've got Brexit, and I have spoken to people who are, they're concerned about being part of Europe, and horrifically they come out as concerned about immigration. And those who are better informed know that these are good things for us. But some of the older generation as well have an issue around this one. So we have got to work really, really hard to get the message across, even to the SNP supporters, that being part of Europe is a good thing. And if we do, I think we'll see the rise back towards those numbers should be. It should be, if you're in the SNP, 100%, you want independence first, and we can deal with the rest later.
Okay. Okay, let's just hear from that. Is that hand that shot up?
Oh yeah, I was thinking that it might actually be too concerning that support's gone down, because it might just be a stats thing. That after the referendum, people who voted SNP policies but weren't for independence voted SNP. So the same people that voted independence might still be there. They've just been diluted by more SNP voters. Could that be the case? And we don't have that much to worry about?
Okay, let's bring in Craig. Is that possible? Have I got the only mic? Right. Okay.
It's possible. This is the thing with these polls. They are limited snapshots. They only generally bring in 1,000 people. And they are quite limited. I think we do need to have... well, I don't... maybe, I don't know, to be honest. The dilution effect, I would have expected to have seen that as a sharp drop, because the surge was a very rapid thing rather than the slow decay that we've been seeing. So I'm not sure. Just to answer the previous question on the, saying that the turnout hadn't, turnout by age hadn't really changed in the last 30 years. Would it be possible to move it? Well, look at what happened with the 16 and 17-year-olds. They get given the franchise, they get given something to vote for, and they turned out in not overwhelming numbers, but in substantially more than the demographic just above them. So it will take work, but I think you can move people if you give them something to vote for.
Just a few brief responses from the speakers, and then back to you folks. Okay. Anything you want to say? You don't want to say anything.
So I think the one of the areas we need to get to grips with is, like, yes, Brexiters, no Remainers. Like, they are voter groups that I think may be moving. Like, notice use the word think. We need answers to this, but we will need hard and fast arguments for people to vote who voted Brexit to vote yes again. And that, I'm a fluffy liberal European, and I love the free movement of people. But not everyone that we need to vote yes feels the same way as I do. and we're going to have to do some tough thinking about what that means for us as a movement.
Just like to thank everybody on Twitter that has been going on about what we've been talking about. Thanks to most of them. I'm not sure I'd like to thank the person who says, in response to some of my points, if we can't change Goebbels' attitude to us, we must change our attitude to Goebbels. I'm quite sure. I'm quite sure he got that point. Mute. And I'd also like to thank the person who posted a video of Taylor Swift. Sick.
Okay. The point about the support amongst 55 plus women being down to 22%. I mean, again, I appreciate we're really focusing on, there could be arguments for the statistics, but I mean, it allows us to focus on different parts of the mass that is the Scottish population. Has anyone got thoughts on that? Come on, there's plenty of girls here that are on their 55 pluses. Women. Yes, here's one. I'm one.
Thank you very much. Well spotted as a 55 plus. I mean, I think the
Just go straight after him.
Well, that's what she said as she came over. She was coming to one. Oh, I don't need to get up. They can see me on the telly. Take me too long to get up. I think that's a really scary statistic. And with the whole WASPy issue, I would have thought we'd have actually been going the other way. But I think pension which is not up in the headings, and we touched on it with the citizens' income, but to be honest, that was the big thing last time. People were knocking doors saying if it's a yes on Thursday, there's no pension next week. We must have that sorted, and we must have it sorted in a way that's believable. And I would have thought that with what they've done to the pension of the women in the mid-50s, the WASPy generation, of which I am also one, that really should be an open goal for us, and we need to make sure that we get that done.
It's okay, just one wee question while we're at it, because there was a huge response actually in the room to the idea, and my mind's gone now, which does prove that my 55 plus women, that a citizen's income would actually be a better way to address all of the difficulties with pensions. I mean, as somebody who is a kind of, in a parliament, how do you think that would run within the SNP as a policy priority?
Well, obviously, there's a lot of, sums and things to be done around it, and I'm not in that policy group. But the idea that if you gave a citizen's income, people will sit around and do nothing is completely disproven by how active pensioners are. They get their state pension, they maybe have nothing else or a little works pension, and they're down the cancer shop, they're looking after the kids, they're running a football team. In actual fact, having a citizen's income gives people a choice to spend at least part of their time contributing in a better way to their community.
Okay, it's worth noting that's the biggest response there's been to anything so far today, actually, that really big feeling about the citizen's income. I hope you're listening, folk who are watching online, of a very high priority in our movement. Right, last there, and then I'm hearing noises from here.
I would follow on to that and totally agree. I was hugely worried that the over 55-year-old women like myself, where the numbers had gone down for voting yes, but hugely encouraged when I saw the 16, 17-year-olds were actually starting to engage. And I think there's an opportunity there. I would guess that a lot of these women are demoralised. We're talking here about pensions. We also, in Brexit, a lot of women were frightened by it all. Doesn't matter if you voted yes before, it was frightening a lot of the media. So I know some women who've actually gone from voting yes and they're saying, oh, maybe I'll vote no. That worries me. I would pitch, because I'm one of those women, we should have get your granny to vote yes, have an intergenerational approach to this, and get the young people who are so enthused to go forward and talk to their older, their grandparents, and encourage them to vote yes.
Okay. Right, which was a tactic that got Obama in twice. I think he sent all the interns back to Florida to get their grandparents out to vote. Although, as I think Pat noted, not the third time with Ms. Clinton. But anyway, this is the ignored half of the room, I'm told, so here you go.
Well, another over 55 WASPy woman here. I think that, carrying on from what that last speaker said, that fear has got a lot to do with it. And I think fear after the Brexit vote may be turning people in the opposite direction from what some people anticipated. That a lot of people didn't realise that 3 a.m. thing about the pound tanking and everybody, suddenly this is a disaster. People, even yes voters, even Remain voters, Leave voters alike, did not realise. And I think there is an element within the people who did or thought about voting yes to independence, thinking, my God, if we'd voted yes, would that have been what happened that morning? Now, we know it wouldn't have done, but I felt it in myself. And it's only because I've got enough confidence of understanding the arguments deep down that I realise that that's a false fear. But I think it's a fear that we need to be able to address and not have people being terrified that at 3 a.m. after a yes vote becomes obviously what's happening, that we're going to have the whole world crashing around our ears.
Yeah. Right, very well said. Yeah. Okay. Should be said there was an observation within the BBC that actually every time there was any kind of national emergency or world emergency, everyone switches to the BBC. Now, I appreciate that's very possibly not true of folk in this room now. But the point was that when people felt uncertain, they moved more towards establishment figures and more towards institutions that they knew. And so actually there's a dynamic there that probably we need to understand. Right, I see that there's loads of folk want to come in. Right, just get you, sir, and then we've got to move on to another question. And I'm going to hold the mic. That's just the rule. But you can stand. You look like a stander. Are you going to do? Aye, here we go. Right.
If you'll, whilst we're generally on the subject of pensions, if you'll allow me to go very slightly off topic, I was very interested to hear Stuart's question, whatever happened to pensioners for independence? And I, and a relatively small at the moment group of people, are trying at the moment to relaunch Pensioners for Independence. So, because we've already heard how important it is to influence more older people, and that's what I'm hoping that the new group that we're trying to set up will be able to do.
What do you need? Do you need any kind of help? Do you need any IT help or anything to do that? Or you?
Time goes on. It's very much in its infancy at the moment, but as time goes on, as we get a bit stronger, I think we probably will need some help.
Right. So, can you book in with the boffin as an expert at the end of this? We need to capture all this. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Thank you, sir. Thanks. Right.
Can I just say very briefly...
Right, that's too much like a rock star. Just back a wee bit.
Right. Can I just say, make 1 or 2 points that are kind of connected. One on pensioners. I am a human geographer, and I was asked to do a lecture in Poland after the referendum to Polish academics who research Scotland, explaining the Scottish political situation to them. So I had to research the referendum, new field for me. I worked a little bit with polls for yes for an independent Scotland, right? And on the electoral, they were very well organised. On the electoral register, they could identify the Polish surnames, and they could go knock on doors and speak to them in Polish. And they discovered in Leith, where some of the more struggling Poles are, with language not so good, they don't understand our political system, a lot of them had been told by the No campaign that if they voted yes and Scotland became independent, they would have to leave the country. Yes. Now, I've also heard that local polling stations in the borders, kind of out of earshot, when elderly people came to vote, some of the Better Together people were kind of whispering to them, just a safe distance from the polling booth. Now remember, if you vote yes and Scotland goes independent, you lose your pension. Now, of course, now these local dirty tactics, how do we counter them? We have to think about that.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right. But you're probably right in spotting EU nationals as being another group that need to be thought about distinctly. I'm sorry, I'm going to move on to a question now about this proposition that Craig made, that there was a couple of ways of kind of getting the 400,000 voters we might need if there was a poll today, which there won't be based on today's assumptions, which they won't be right. So we're getting that this is just a way to think about things. That was the question of looking at a swing of 10% amongst 55 plus voters, and a swing of 5% amongst those who earn less than £25,000 and voted no, or just didn't vote. Has anybody got views on those sort of propositions as things that might be worth targeting? There's 2 hands have shot up, so that's fair enough. And yep, okay. Just go for whoever you can get to first, Bob. Who was here that I didn't get right?
Hi, thanks. Do you know, I think we have a very serious problem on our hands with the. Sorry, we've got a very serious problem on our hands with the mass media. Just earlier this week, Theresa May said that the Tories are going